Natchtpirscher by Phoenix Fire 0512. I am telling this story here because nobody else I will tell will believe me. But I hope that you will after hearing what happened. It all started with a dream. I was in a house. It wasn't my own, but it felt familiar somehow. It was late at night, but I didn't know how late as the clocks appeared blurry. Then the hair on my neck stood up like I was being watched, and my heart started racing. I looked around to find the source of my fear, and only saw a couch and a TV playing late night talk shows. But wait, what was that dark shadow rushing past the window? I started running upstairs. As I ran, I saw photos on the wall that looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't tell why. I ran into a bathroom and closed the door and locked it behind me. Out of breath, I started gasping for air. Then I saw a dark shape out of the window. A dark shape that seemed to be writhing and pulsing down its entire body. I screamed, and just as soon as I could blink, it burst through the bathroom window and stood in front of me. It looked at me with its beady eye, and I saw why it was pulsing. It was made out of thousands, maybe millions of bugs and spiders, all crawling along a general humanoid shape. It opened its mouth, and hundreds of roaches came rushing out like opening a floodgate. They ran down its body, across the floor, and up my body into my mouth and nose. I could feel all of the thin legs walking across my tongue and down my throat, until I couldn't breathe anymore. I suffocated, and right as I was losing consciousness, I saw the creature bring up its hand and clenched it into a fist, and all the roaches came back out of my body and scary underneath the long black cloak the monster was wearing. I woke up shortly after, terrified, yet intrigued. That creature reminded me of an old tale that my late grandmother had told me when I was younger. I could still hear her cold, shrill voice as it was those many years ago. Now, young boy, let me tell you a story from the fatherland. A story that has frightened me since I was a little girl. It is the story of the Natchtpirscher. Say, it is a tall beastie, 7 feet in size, a creature made of only bugs and creepy crawlies. Say, it is a sign of bad signs to happen, any of the souls to dream of its image. If one is to dream of the Natchtpirscher, their lives will be destroyed forever. My grandmother was a German immigrant who had recently died. Maybe that's why I had dreamed the creature, my subconscious associating bad things happening with the Natchtpirscher. I didn't think much of the dream. I turned on the TV in my living room and saw a news update. Tony Sherwood, who was a good friend of mine, had died last night. I was devastated and called into my job and explained the situation, and they let me have a day off to cope. I went to his family's house to offer my condolences, and I spent the rest of the day with his family telling stories about Tony, trying to remember him the best we could, so we all had a good idea of what kind of person he was. The next night, I had a dream much like the previous one. However, now I was in a different home. I still could feel the presence of something evil and ran, but this time the creature was faster. It was in front of me before I could make it out of the room, as if it learned from a previous encounter. I fell to the floor in terror and watched as it opened its mouth, except this time, instead of roaches, it was black widow spiders crawling out towards me. I felt as they bit my throat and crawled into my lungs. I could barely breathe, and then they crawled out of my mouth and back into the creature's robes. I watched in horror as it stretched out its fingers out and touched my face. I thought I even saw a year run down its face as I slipped into death deprived of oxygen. Before the darkness started, I willed myself to wake up, disgusted and horrified with my own imagination. But when I woke up, I saw my own mother lying at my feet, unconscious. I looked around and I was in my mother's home. I thought back to my past dream and realized that I had been in Tony's house. I had been seeing two disgusting, terrifying, and truly horrible murders from the perspective of the victims. And I was the killer. I was the Natchtpirscher. What a twist. Great story. Loved reading it. It was amazing. If you folks liked it, you can leave a like and a comment on the video. If you want to hear more stories, go ahead and subscribe. And I see y'all on the wasteland.